Welcome to the Daily Whatever. I'm Dana Dubois.
I'm Lawrence Winterman, and we're tired this morning.
We're a bit groggy today. Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Hang on. Oh, look at all these folks joining already. Hey, 1 Minute Daily. I'm going to open our chat so that we can.
True.
Yeah, wait, no sound. Can you all not hear us?
Oh no. I can hear Dana.
I can hear
So
Lawrence,
that
but
end is working.
we're practically psychic with one another. So,
It's true.
okay, Brandon can hear. Good.
Oh, okay. 1 minute. It may be you.
Yolanda says yes. I assume that means yes, you can hear. Weigh in the chat if you can hear us. Good morning, Joe. New California Republic in the house.
Buena Prefecture. Okay. I hadn't named them prefectures, but sure. I love it. I'm so
Excellent.
down with that. You have no idea how happy that made me.
I can tell you're beaming, Lawrence.
I made a flag. I made a flag for the new California Republic. I mean, it's not revolutionary, but
Nice. Are you going to share it or is it
oh yeah, it'll be one of the interstitials coming up soon.
okay, fabulous.
We
Kira
got
is
people rolling on in. This is amazing. Hey, everybody.
We sure do. I think we're a little low energy today. I did not sleep very well last night and have a lot going on today.
Oof. Saying I had a crazy dream last night that
Mhm.
I fell asleep on the beach at
Oh,
the tide line, and I slept all night on the beach until the morning when the tide came in and the water started hitting me in the butt, and then I woke up. And it wasn't like a metaphor for like you need to get up and pee or anything. It was just like,
okay.
yeah. In the dream, I woke up and then told people that I fell asleep on the beach. It was a crazy night.
Hmm. That is really weird. I don't remember any weird dreams. I just had a lot of trouble falling asleep. But um, I have family in town visiting for today and tomorrow, which
Right.
is super nice. Um, Craig says hi.
Hi, Craig.
He's not here right now, but he does say hello. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the story that we're going to be discussing today. I think, is it weird to say I'm a little on edge to talk about this one, Lawrence?
No, I mean, I know the backstory, of course. Here, I just put the link to the story in the
Oh,
chat.
thank you.
Um, I know the backstory, and so I don't think it's weird to be worried about this one at all because it's a little weird. And yeah,
It is.
people brace yourselves.
Oh, okay. Oh,
It's
hi,
our friend
Sherry.
Sherry from Miami. Hey, Sherry, Miami.
Ah, it's
And Nick.
and Kat, it's like a reunion every day, getting to see all the names. It is fabulous.
Sherry just gave us a giant good morning in all caps.
Okay, I
Way to
see.
go, sis. We miss you.
Hello, all. I'm
And
taking here to show that
Yolanda said that we both look great, which
that's very
friend
kind.
keep singing it. I love to hear it.
That's
I think
very
I look like death warmed over this morning, but at least I represent well on camera, maybe.
right. Me too, a bit, Lawrence. Yeah,
Oh, hey, Beth just joined, and that's super exciting. Beth, I know that you've been going through a lot recently, and we're glad that you're here. We've missed you while you were gone, dealing with all the crazy shit. I read your post this morning, and good God, you're dealing with a lot. So big hearts and hugs to you.
hi, Beth. We didn't get to meet up for karaoke, and I'm sad about that, but I hope we get to have a do-over soon. What does this say? What does this say here? I kind of have written a prologue for the autobiography.
Ooh,
I'm not sure what that means.
I think Lisa Joy is writing an autobiography, and she's written a prologue.
Okay. Excellent. Yes, I would love to have a do-over too, Beth. Um, yeah, you said you would read it. Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Send it my way. I, let me do this
We
here.
we seem a little discombobulated this morning, don't we?
I am. I am, Lawrence. I'm not some mornings I wake up and I'm, like, really good to go, and it's not today, and I'm like, "Oh, I really need it to be today." I, yeah, I have something to do after this. I think you know what it is, Lawrence. I'm not gonna say it on camera quite, and it's nothing that crazy. Yeah, oh, okay, yes, I do remember. What do you do when your abuser tells you to write an autobiography? And I said, "Write it." Although if an abuser's telling you to do it, I don't know. If it feels good, write it. Um, yeah, it's gonna be kind of a big, like, discombobulating day, so, and this story, Lawrence, maybe we should just shift and talk about this since I feel like we usually have our morning banter going. I'm laughing a little 'cause in talking to, my brother who's in town last night, and to other friends, they've been like, "You talk to Lawrence 6 hours a week on camera, and you don't run out of things to talk about?" I'm like, "We literally don't. We never run out of things to talk about."
Yeah,
Um,
that's, I've said it before, that's why you're my desert island person.
I know,
There will be no sex life whatsoever, but we'll never run out of things
none,
to talk about.
right? And sometimes
Yeah.
maybe the talking is a bit more of a priority. Hi, Doctor Hall.
Hi, Dr. Hull.
So awesome to see you here. Um, I think part of the discomfort is that this is, a hard story a bit. So maybe we should just jump into that. And it's a story that I wrote, gosh, almost 2 years ago, almost like because that relationship ended in August of 2023. And as you know, Lawrence, there is more. The story continued on in real life in ways that were not great. Um, honestly, Lawrence, I think I'm a little distracted because I'm checking who's joining.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I'll keep an eye out, and
Okay.
I will let you know.
Anyhow, I do want to talk about this story though, and I thought to kind of relationships don't need to end in someone's death in order to be a success. That is true. There was a lot of success in this relationship. There was not a lot of success in the fallout of this
Right.
relationship, which is not covered in the story. This is a story that ends right when the relationship did. It's not the post breakup. I don't know if I will ever write that story.
Yeah, the postscript to this relationship, could be a movie, could be a screenplay, and it would be
Impl-
crazy if it
an
were,
implausible
but
plot.
yeah, it will, honestly, it would present as unbelievable if you were to write it. If you were to write it as a screenplay, people would be like, "No,
Right.
no, that you're yeah, you're bending the truth." But the truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, and in this case, it very much was. But this is the relationship that leads yeah, the relationship itself, is worth writing about and kind of learning from, I think.
Yes. And I think, um,
Dana, I think you should
w-
jump in and read a section, like read a piece, and then let's jump in and talk about it.
okay. Um, I will. And I kind of debated reading. There's some stories that pull out really well where you can be like, this is the perfect part of the story. And this one,
You feel like you need to read the whole thing?
it's a little trickier because yeah, I might. It doesn't necessarily have a good like blurb to read so much as the full story. Um, what I will say and where I think the conversation should go from here is the notion of a little R relationship and kind of what does that mean? And as we get older, is that all we get? And
Ouch. Yeah.
that's sort of the Gen X question that's in the subtext. Um, it's, I think, when you're younger and you're looking for like I want to get married and have kids and the white picket fence. There's sort of this, I want the big R. I want the
Right.
whole thing.
Right. I want the world. I want the whole world.
Yeah, Veruca, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think as we get older, we get more complicated. What we're looking for shifts. Our lives get more complicated in midstream. Partnership is harder to find. And that there are times where a little R relationship makes sense. And then how does one differentiate between like a little R and a big R? I'm kind of coining some new terms, but um, I'm going to go ahead and read it because we're starting early since we're just awkward this morning. Um, this one also opens with kind of a bang. So
Yeah.
I
Every
will.
once in a while, we're allowed to be slightly awkward in the morning. It happens.
It does happen. Okay. So I'm going to jump in and read. I had a little R relationship. We can be in conversation a bit after Lawrence, but I would also love for people in the chat to feel comfortable weighing in and talking about their thoughts on little R's or perhaps little R relationships that they have or are
Have had. Yeah.
have had or are in, and what they mean. Okay. I had a little R relationship. A Gen X romantic idealist reckons with finding and then losing Mr. Not Quite Right. Again, this one opens big. um, I don't want this, my boyfriend said to me, stone faced. We'd spent 5 glorious months together, my heart on fire. Then on my birthday, he picked our first fight. I apologized, halfway broken, baffled, in tears, and then told him I loved him for the first and only time. He wished me a happy birthday in return. He'd leave me for his best friend's wife a few weeks later. He didn't want this. He wanted that. I was crushed, devastated. A few months later, Trump won the election, the first time. Nothing made sense anymore. I could barely eat or get out of bed. That had never happened to me before nor since. I foolishly decided dating again might help. November and December saw a double wham bam of dickheads who couldn't manage to keep a condom on their dicks. My heartache intensified to despondency with a side of STD panic. I had to try something else. I started New Year's Day 2017 alone in a favorite cafe with a perfect oat milk latte, my first dose of Wellbutrin, and a morning after pill. Bottoms up 2017, I toasted myself as I sucked down the pills with the creamy brew. Things had to get better. And they did. Wellbutrin restored my natural sense of buoyancy with its steadfast chemical goodness. It was like the best boyfriend ever. I felt elevated, happy, and sated as I had little to no sex drive under its influence. I just wanted to eat well, move my body, and enjoy my life. Eventually, I realized antidepressants looked good on me. I'd gotten fit and looked pretty damn great. I wasn't the only one to notice. Men looked up and met my eye approvingly when I passed. Hello, world of the sexually active. Nice of you to notice. I'm here. By late spring, I put my dating profile back online, and what a difference my weight loss made. I was viable. I started flirting with Wellbutrin holding the sadness at bay, but with a lingering sense of romantic nihilism. At 46, I'd nearly accepted there may never be another love story for me. But the idea of a bit of romantic fun and maybe having sex again, preferably with someone who knew how to keep a condom on, appealed to me. The stakes felt lower, and I reveled in that levity. In July, I met a very dark horse candidate, who I'll call Davis. He was not particularly my type. He was short, his profile said 5'7", and sporty, into Spartan and car racing, 2 things I literally couldn't care less about. But his writing was vivacious and confident, and he immediately shared his last name to put me at ease. Google me if you want, he said. I'm barely online, and you won't find anything. I did Google him, and I did find things. I wrote him back minutes later. You're not 48, as your profile states. You're 53. You're still married to your wife, Leah, and you two own a home at a dress, with an estimated market value of value, I replied, and I don't date liars. He immediately apologized. He explained he explained why he lied about his age, the same tired reason everyone does. And yes, he was still married, but they were separated, just staying in the house till their son graduated the next year. Then he apologized again, sincerely and profusely, and asked me to meet him for a drink to make it up to me. Are you really 5'7", or are you lying about that too? I asked. I'm 5'6¾", he replied. Readers, he was not 5'6¾". But whatever. Trump was president. This dude wasn't my type. But sure, why not have a drink? Well, Butrin and I were seeking experiences and a bit of fun. This should be interesting, if nothing else. And he was. He was a hard no the moment I walked in the door. Nowhere near 5'7", with a high-pitched, strident voice, Davis spent the evening regaling me with stories. His 20-plus-year marriage had been open, and he had exploits to share. Wild stories about working with a mistress in a sex dungeon and something about building furniture for sex parties. The details are blurry from the years since past and the bourbon in my glass. He was not a fit for me, so we had a blast, me shaking my head at each outrageous story. Then, as we went to part ways, he surprised me with a huge kiss. And he was a really good kisser. He asked me to dinner at a fancy French restaurant a few days later. French food sounded good, so I said yes. My little R relationship had begun. Davis kept inviting me on delicious dates. Does this sound like a fun thing to do? I'd ask myself. Yes, my inner monologue replied. So I went again and again. I've never been one to live in the romantic moment without future-looking, judging. Turns out it's a pretty fun way to date. Before too long, he asked me to be exclusive, his girlfriend, and I agreed. I'm relationship-oriented by nature and have very little free time with a full-time job and half-time custody of my kids. It only made sense to acknowledge that we wouldn't be dating other people, so we did. In late September, we had a big night out planned, another fancy French dinner downtown, followed by a midnight burlesque show. He texted me ahead of time how he'd been busted by his wife and had a story to share. Busted, I wrote back. I thought you and your wife were separated. Over pre-dinner wine, he relayed how Leah had seen a text from me and gone ballistic. I was so confused, and his answers so not satisfying. But it became clear that their separation was more of a gray area than disclosed, or perhaps an outright lie. Why was he telling me this? Did he expect me to be sympathetic? I wasn't. I excused myself to the restroom, buzzed on red wine and apparent falsehoods. I stared myself down in the mirror and thought, well, you like him, but not that much. You could leave now. He's earned it. I was weighing my options and told him so. He begged me to stay and then told me he loved me for the first time. I cried. He was baffled, as this was not the reaction he expected. I told him I was feeling emotional, which was true, but not the full story. I cried because I knew he was lying. Not about being in love with me, I was pretty sure that was in earnest, but about the rest of it. He was a good liar, and that's a bad thing for one's boyfriend to be good at. I cried because I didn't know if anyone would ever say those words to me again, and here they were ringing in my ears. I cried because someone was saying those words to me again, but why, oh, why was it him? I cried because we'd finished all the wine and none of the food, and it was very, very good, expensive French wine, and I was wine-bleary and teary. I wanted out of that booth, and I didn't want the night to end. Fuck it, let's go see the burlesque show, I said. So onward we went. And things were good. More months went by full of fun times, with me never saying those 3 words back. He was understanding, but made it clear that if I couldn't say them eventually, he would leave. I understood. I didn't want us to stop, but did I love him? Davis was a very good boyfriend, thoughtful, consistent, passionate, and kind. He accommodated my parenting schedule without complaint, seeing me just 2 to 3 evenings per week. I awoke to a text every morning and before bedtime every night. I never wanted for attention or affection. The sex was pretty damn great. We'd grown to know what the other liked and delivered it. From dinners to shows to karaoke, he was always a willing sport for my shenanigans. No one ever gets everything they want in relationship. I'd always associated love with the trappings of infatuation, the tingles, the longing, the giddiness. But where had those feelings gotten me? Devastated and on antidepressants, that's where. I'd weaned from the Wellbutrin, in part thanks to the stability of my relationship with Davis. I had no interest in being vulnerable to that kind of emotional devastation again. Sure, I had underlying trust issues with Davis, and I knew I wasn't what he'd typically sought in relationship either, what with his past open relationship and kink-forward lifestyle. He told me he was okay without both. He was in his 50s now, and he'd had his fun. I accepted this as likely not entirely true, but decided to lean into loving what I had versus waiting for the stupid, gorgeous fireworks that had signaled love to me in the past. I was in my 40s now, and perhaps I'd had my fill of those. Instead of, I can't live without you, I went with, I choose to be with you. Maybe it was healthier this way. I couldn't say. Even now, I still can't. I told him I loved him back. And onward we went for years, with a lot of consideration, kindness, and caring, and mostly without incident. But not entirely. We had 2 more big lie moments. The first happened when Davis received a deluge of Kicks notifications on his phone, uncharacteristically face up on the bar in plain sight. The only time I'd ever used Kicks was years earlier to receive a dick pic from an overeager online suitor. I said yes, downloaded the app, and then responded to him, yes, you have a penis, fascinating, like the feminist killjoy I am. But Davis didn't have many friends. Who was blowing up his phone? I asked. He had no answer. So I asked to see the messages. He adamantly refused. I knew I could leave for this, but I didn't. The second one happened a year or so later. I asked him to text me a photo, and when he opened his phone, his photos displayed on his huge TV. He immediately disconnected his phone, clearly panicked. I had no idea why, but knew it couldn't be anything good. I asked to see the photos on his phone. Again, he refused. Again, I didn't leave. Again, we carried on. Why didn't I leave? Don't think I stuck it out with a liar because I was in too deep. It was the opposite, actually. If I'd been giddy in love, I would have left. I couldn't have lived with the weight of that distrust at odds with the vulnerability of my heart. But since this was a little r relationship, I didn't take on that weight. And over time, I grew to rely on and trust Davis, mostly. I trusted in his love for me because he showed up and showed it. He had my back during tough times, including 5 months of agonizing unemployment and the career angst that accompanied it. He never doubted in my ability and told me so repeatedly, even as I was starting to lose faith in myself. Unlike many men I've dated who professed to wanting a strong, capable woman but bolted once they realized what we require, he encouraged me to be big and silly and ambitious and brainy and fun. When I was unemployed, he bought us a Christmas tree and walked it home over one shoulder so my kids wouldn't have a holiday season without one. I've got your back, Dana Fire, he'd say. I trusted that he did. Our little R relationship was both a paradox and a trinity. The paradox lay in how much I enjoyed what we had day to day, contrasted with the irreparable trust gaps from his big lie moments. And the paradox held because of the third part in the trinity, an underlying sort of shrug, an indifference that made me able to enjoy our relationship for what it was without worrying about what it wasn't. I think that's that's the part I should highlight. We'll come back to. It was this cycle of three: joy, distrust, shrug, that kept me from leaving each time. I'm a sucker for joy. The shrug kept the distrust at bay, and for 6 years I cycled, never sure how or if the loop would stop. Davis never asked me for more, not directly. He'd check in from time to time to see how we were doing, hinting at a future with eyebrows raised at unspoken questions, wanting to see what I wanted. I ducked. It wasn't kind, but I'd evade those questions because I knew if I opened my mouth, I wasn't sure what would come out, and I feared whatever it was would be the end of us. I liked our relationship, and I didn't want it to end, at least not yet. Did my shrug stem from the distrust, or did it come from the lack of giddiness from the start? I can't say. I can't A/B test this relationship to see what would have happened if only one of those two variables were present. I only know that by this summer of 2023, my answer to, "Is today better with Davis in it?" had grown lackluster. My lack of yes wasn't a sudden snap. Much as my feelings lacked a sense of fire, so did my denouement. I simply did not want to spend that Wednesday with him, nor the Thursday, nor the Saturday. I realized I just didn't want this. I realized I'd rather be writing or out with friends or enjoying solitude than spending time with him. Without a definite no or a situation to end things, I questioned myself. Was I just tired, overloaded, stressed out? For the first time, I tried to explain my feelings, or lack thereof, to him, and in the end, it was Davis who ended things, quite dramatically dumping me in my own kitchen. And that was that. Looking back, I think part of my reluctance to have a big relationship talk stemmed from fear. I wasn't sure how losing our relationship would feel. Would I be overwhelmed with regret? Would I panic? Would the pit of despair open? Turns out I felt profoundly relieved and grateful. He did what I lacked the courage to do. I love my time being just mine. I'm writing, I'm exercising, I'm writing some more, I'm seeing friends. I'm questioning my own heart and why I stayed for so long, knowing it wasn't fully engaged. Much like with Wellbutrin, I felt calm, supported, and sated with Davis, my rough edges smoothed. It was enough for a long time. Why wasn't it enough? I'm taking my time to mull this question at my own pace. I am at peace. I hope he is well. And then I put a little epilogue on when I wrote this. It's been nearly 2 months since we split. I've thought about setting up an online dating profile, but that seems like so much effort and it's not where my heart or head are yet. I'm going to wait until I'm capital R ready. Because next time, if there's to be a next time, I'm only in for a full-on relationship, a capital R, perhaps with a few exclamation points after it.
Woo! Woo! Well done.
Yeah, that
So let's talk about it. There's been some chat in the chat, although honestly, I think people have just been listening to the entire thing.
thank you.
And I I did say at the end, like, trust me, being the BFF through this entire thing wasn't a walk in the park. Because
Lord,
Joe said, like, oh my gosh, 6 years, forgive me. I want to choke him and give them back to you. Forgive me. I was like, yeah, Joe, I get it.
yeah.
Believe me.
You know what though,
Uh,
Joe? Like, if anything, you could choke me and give them back to him too.
well, so that's kind of where I wanted to start, right? Oh, and Sherry says, bravo, Dana.
Thank
Um, Lisa Joy says, I'm so frustrated that he's such a liar. Like, that's my big question still after all these years, right? Is you knew from the very moment you met him, you knew. And how do you think? So, chat, let me tell you, I've known Dana for a very long time. She's never entered into a relationship like this before. Dana is absolutely fierce about getting the truth and vetting potential suitors. And it's always been a puzzlement to me. Why do you think, in retrospect, you were able to kind of push aside the lies that would have stopped any other relationship you'd ever had? Like, you knew from the beginning. How did you get there? What do you think now that you've had some time to think about it?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts hitting my head. A lot of it's in that story. Um, I had my heart really smashed by someone who I didn't date for that long, but who, it was just I met him and it was like, if this is I said out loud, like, "If this isn't the person I've been waiting for, the person I've been looking for, like, I give up." And it
Right.
ended more catastrophically than and sort of stupidly and dramatically, like, literally, I was left for his best friend's wife.
Right, right. I
And he lied about it, and, like, it was less than 6 months. It shouldn't have been such a big deal, but it very much like, a heart is a bad timekeeper, and mine was just pulverized. And
Well,
then there
and
were
you in that situation, I think you found somebody who, like, hit your little, chemical romance receptors fully connected with his, right? Like, it was
Yes.
the perfect puzzle pieces fitting together, and so, it felt like true love, and then, not only was it not true love for him, he was in love with his best friend's wife, like, just an absolutely devastating way for something to end. So,
Yes.
yeah, you were shattered.
And it was like, "This doesn't feel right, what's going on here?" And being told, like, "You've broken my trust. I don't know if I can trust you anymore because you don't trust me." Like,
Right,
it
you
was
got
bad.
gaslit.
And so yeah, oh, yeah. Um, and I was really walloped. I mean, it really was months. And then after that, like, some bad dating decisions, like, once I did get back on the apps. Um, and so I was on Wellbutrin at the time, which I kind of loved. It suited me well, and it made me just very neutral, and there really was this sense of nihilism. We had Trump as a president. I really didn't believe there was ever, going to be love and partner like, a committed long-term relationship for me again. I still feel that way, Lawrence, to a certain extent, and so
Yeah,
there was this sense of, like, why shouldn't I be with someone who, like I'm trying to think of how to word this. And honestly, Lawrence, this is a weird thing to be discussing live because I'm like, "Wow, what if this person sees this one day?" This is in public, but, um,
I yeah,
it
I
it it this is it was, why 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 not have someone who is, this very stabilizing force in my life? Like that I wanna be really clear that,
yeah,
this relationship for those many years that it lasted was one of like, when I was with him, I had told people, like, "This is one of the best relationships I've been in terms of feeling really loved, safe, and secure." And I know that sounds very like, in the story, I'm examining that duality of, like, how do I know that this is a person who has these core lies? And these were just small they weren't small, but they were moments that were touch points of, like, this is for a person who's a good liar who is I knew at some level likely not telling the truth about elements of his life because we had this very limited little our relationship. It was like it was like we dated for 6 years. It never went any deeper than that
right.
in a lot
Wow.
of ways because we only saw each other, a couple times a week. He wouldn't spend the night because he was allergic to my cats, and so it was this great, like, sure, we go out. He was a great cook. We'd have great sex, and then he'd go home. And
Right.
and
It's
it
the
was
perfect boyfriend, everybody.
I had a lot of
Feed me and
friends.
fuck me and then get the fuck out.
I had a lot of friends ju
You know what?
I had a lot of friends
I'm
joke
putting that on
about
a
that,
t-shirt. Feed me, fuck me, and then get the fuck out.
right? Um,
New
and
t-shirt
so
idea.
it is a cute T-shirt idea, and, there would be it would kind of go in waves where I would be like, you know there's a lot of wisdom out there, including the burned haystack dating method, which I'm a big fan of, that's like, fuck the sparks. Don't trust the sparks. Sparks indicate a trauma response. They don't indicate anything that is stable or good or necessarily what you need in a relationship. And I, when younger, was always like, if that spark wasn't there right away, I was pretty well out.
Sure.
And this was me saying, I have this in the story where he was like, I don't really need this kink open life, relationship anymore. I'm older, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't need those sparks anymore. Uh, I'm older and wiser, and I know what makes for a good relationship, and this was a really big part of it. But if I really had been deeply like head over heels for this guy, I wouldn't have been able to live with the fact that I was like, "What do you do when you're not here?" And I was sort of like, "It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's enough trust there that I trust that it's enough to sustain what this is." And that to me is the crux of what made it a little R for me,
Right.
is that
Well,
what was the part that I said, "Oh, I wanna come back and read this.
yeah, it was,
I wanna come
uh,
back and"
I can find it again. I know. Yeah. Well, so, okay, I wanna ask the question,
Yes, please.
so you have this theory about pillars, right? Like, it's this kind of Jungian concept of there's
I do.
certain areas in our life that have to be absolutely solid or we don't have stability, right? Like, partnership and romantic relationship is one, and work is one, family, house, that, you know. And you talked a lot during this time period about, oh, this guy is fulfilling my relationship pillar, right? Like, it's keeping that stable. And it was when you were unemployed and kind of going through the job turmoil.
And the
And I think,
pandemic, let's not forget the pandemic in the
right, the
middle.
pandemic, yeah, the pandemic was a thing.
Yes.
So I think that, there's a piece, right, of that kind of kept this active maybe for longer than you would have in other situations.
Mhm,
But I'm wondering if, I guess, the question I'm trying to ask is, a lot of what he did that satisfied you
mhm.
seemed a little performative, right? The good morning, the good night, the the things that the things that you like and that you need in a relationship, but the trust wasn't completely there, right? The lies were, I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around, like, was it just the fact, that, like, he said good morning every morning, he said good night every night, but you still didn't trust him. There were still big lie moments that happened where it
Yeah.
was pretty clear that he had some other wackadoodle other stuff going on in his life, right? Like, how
Yes.
did that add up together to fulfill your relationship pillar?
That's a great question.
I'm
Um,
going all Sally Jesse Raphael on your ass this morning.
nice.
It's been
Like,
years, and I finally get to ask all these questions that I never understood out of this
right.
relationship.
It wasn't like, just a good night and a good morning text. This was someone who saw me, and I can be a lot, as you know, Lawrence. I could never be too much for him. Like, and there were some really, challenging times. Like the time when I was unemployed for 5 months was a really big one. But like any time of day or night or anything, like he was there. And I think that to me is like the most interesting part of the story, is that the duality of trust. Because when it came to being a really good boyfriend in this, in the way that, in which he was, I really did trust him. And I think that, and that trust has sustained. I didn't fully know him, as we came to find out after this ended, but um, it's really hard to explain how there was just this boundary for me that was set, that was like, maybe this is all I get. And
Mm.
really, I know I'm a person who still wants, like, kind of the whole thing, right? the big relationship, the da 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 da, in ways that a lot of people our age don't. Um, and I think I paused for a really long time and said, "Is this enough, though? Could you go through your life just being like, um, you know, I have this person who's here and I know is here for me in this limited way. I don't want him for anything more than this." I think that was the reason it worked was I didn't want anything more from him.
Yeah.
And it was there, and, it really was a sustaining pillar. Um, and
Do you think
I had
the
oh, sorry,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, just, like, if we're gonna get all, like one day we'll have to have some more, like, my theory of being the responsible hedonist and all the pillars that hold that up. But, like, love, relationship, sex, partnership are different pillars for me. The partner pillar wasn't there, but the partner pillar hasn't been there over a dozen years, right? Like, I'm used to that pillar missing. Not that I love it, but it's just not there. That's a very hard pillar to replace. But the sex pillar, the friendship, and the relationship pillar were really strong there, and it was super sustaining. Um, and it there would be times when this is actually a point I wanna touch on that's not in the story, that, when there were many times during those 6 years when I would be like, "Ugh, he's bugging me," or, "I know that this is ultimately not what I want," and or whatever it was, and I had friends like you and other friends who were like, "Why are you in this relationship? Is this really what you want for yourself? Is this enough for you?" And I would say, like, "If I leave this may be it." Like, I may never like, I literally may never have sex again because of who I am, because I'm not casual about it. I may never get this far again, and every time, well-intended friends would say things like, "No, that's not true, you're beautiful, there'll always be someone else." And I think as we age, doors start closing, windows start closing, whatever metaphor you wanna use, that, it's not a kind thing to say necessarily of like, "Well, there's plenty more out there," like, that's literally not true. And, um
I just want to catch up from the chat because it's on
Sure.
this topic. So Brandon says, I can understand that. I put up with a lot from a boyfriend because I thought I'd never get anyone better. And then Sherry said, yes, Brandon, I married someone for that same reason. And then Lisa Joy jumped in and said, I haven't had sex in over 7 years. LOL. I I mean, I too, you know me.
Yeah,
I have settled for relationships with guys where I thought I couldn't get better. Do you think in this case it was because the guy before was such a sort of love match and so heartbreaking that I guess I'm trying to dig into the like, but why did you think that there wouldn't be opportunities for anything else or anything better after?
because why would I think there would be? Like, I have a lot of living examples around me of amazing women who have been single/love slash love sexless for years, um, because the math doesn't work. I say that a lot about a lot of things in life, um, and I mean, what the fallout has been like after well, the fallout was bad, but, like, just what my life has been like afterwards, and,
Well, and
hasn't
part of this is men in their 50s wanna date women in their 20s, right? Like, or 30s,
I mean,
like,
it's a
that's part of the
culture.
equation, when we think about, like, the Drake's
Yeah,
equation of what you're talking about here, it's, yes, there's a certain amount of 50-year-old men out there who are single and available, but
yes.
are they your type? Are they interested in having a relationship? Are they willing to consider relationships with women with peers, with women in their 50s and not whatever this, I've got to date somebody in my 20s because it's validating for my ego, says the man whose boyfriends are consistently 20 years
20
younger.
years younger than him. Oh, Lawrence, you have a type. Um, you know me, Lawrence, and, I say this in the story, something about how he's smoothed my rough edges, and you know me in relationship. You've gotten many, you've gotten plenty of recent phone call of, I don't like I don't like, how it feels when I feel jaggy about pursuing relationship. It is not a good feeling for me. And so it was nice for that to feel smoothed over. It was a really good reminder. That sounds awful. It was really nice to feel sustained, I guess. That it's like it was a it did. I remember giving advice to friends at the time of like, perhaps it is better to say fuck the spark and to pick a relationship that is sustaining and kind and loving. And there is a part of me that wonders, like, I can't separate the lack of trust from the lack of spark, right? And I'm like, what if Davis had not had the lies and it had been the same sort of relationship, but that was a fully trusting relationship? Would I still be in it? Would I have learned, like, I wasn't lying when I told him I loved him. I had love for him. We spent 6 years together, right?
Right.
And would that have been enough? Would I have stayed? Would it have just become this very like calm, thoughtful, good relationship that became, bigger? Would we be sharing a home? I don't know. Um, and if we did, would I be happy? Like, is that sense of just being content enough? I don't know. I still don't have an answer for that question. And, but I do think that it's taught me, what it feels like to be to feel that sense of like, calm and that sense of like a very secure attachment. It
Right.
feels really good, and it did embolden a lot of things in my world. Like when I started writing, like having someone who was a cheerleader the whole time of like, "Your writing is awesome, keep doing it." Like, I haven't met that many people, especially romantic partners, who actually want a giant in a woman and who are like, "Please be bigger,
Right. Take up more space. Yeah.
take up more space."
Right.
Um, I think those parts of the relationship were really healthy, and I have them with me still. So
Right.
I don't wanna paint this like it started with someone saying, "I wish you could take the 6 years back." Like, I don't, and if anyone were to feel that way, it's probably him, right? Who
Yeah.
I think did feel that, like, heat and, like, "I want this to be my forever person" sense. So,
Yeah.
um, that taught me a lot, and it also taught me a lot of, like, as I have, started dating again over the last couple of years since this ended of, like, "Oh, I'm so relationship oriented, like, don't slide into a little our relationship. Don't."
Yeah.
And I think it's made me, gun shy is not quite the right word, but, yeah, in the parlance of the burnt haystack dating method, like, I have met needles and have just been like, "Yeah, I think this needle would be really good to me, and I could probably learn to, like, little L love this person,
Yeah.
but I don't want to do that again because, I'm probably better just being alone, than having that." Because that's not I don't know, that's not where I am right now, at least.
All right. Here's my vulgar question.
Okay,
At risk of becoming typecast as the penis obsessed gay man,
okay.
is it just because he had a nice peen, Dana? Is that why you stayed for 6 years?
That wasn't the only reason, but it was a pretty compelling reason, Lawrence.
It was a pretty big reason, if you know what I'm saying. Ba-da-ba. Yes, yes, Joey. We always know
Yes,
what you're saying.
hi hat, yes, you know, yeah, like, having a sexual connection that sustains for 6 years is remarkable, so
Yeah,
but I think part of the reason it sustained wasn't just because of his great peen, Lawrence, but it was also because we never did any of the hard work. Like, one
mm,
of the things that starts eroding that, paradoxically, is the thing that I want, which is diving in deeper, connecting, taking on the hard things in life, maybe sharing a home one day. Those things, can make staying connected to sex and passion harder. If you're like, oh God, you haven't, emptied the dishwasher in a week, or gosh, we're struggling to pay the bills this month, or whatever it is, those hardships um, make a relationship our relationship, but also they can weigh on the pure sex and joy of it all. So I think that's why it stayed good for so long. That, and we didn't see each other day in, day out, didn't wake up next to each other. Again, things that I at least say that I want, I think I still want. But it did keep it connected, connected and fun that, when I'd see him, it would be like, great to see you. So yeah, that all of just this very strange cycle of paradoxes.
Here's a question from Mason in the chat.
Okay.
Dana, do you have dreams about him when you sleep? I dream about my little R person, says Mason.
No, I think once or twice maybe in the year, but not sexual dreams. It was I really agonized over if I should leave or not. And it was almost like I just didn't have a choice. Just every part of me was just like, don't, I just don't, day to day, don't want to do this. Sorry, my computer just went dark. So there. Um, and it ended, and I was completely like relieved and just like fine about it. I have not shed a tear. I have not dreamed, even in the couple of years that passed that were, you know, no sex dreams. Yeah, no. I mean, no, it was over. And I think, God, Lawrence, I just had this theory pop in my head, and I'm going to just try tossing this out there straight from fresh thought out. And maybe it's a bad idea, but I just had this vision of like when a relationship ends, of sort of this, I just had this like liquid, like an egg or like a giant liquid filled ball that shatters, and that has to go somewhere. And I'm like, I think it all went to him.
Hmm.
And every relationship, when it ends, people take on a part of something, and sometimes there might be more there, but there's an energy to the ending of every relationship. And I suppose there are some times where two people look at one another and are like, thank you very much, I'm done, goodbye, and it just ends, but not usually. And there's some where both people are really devastated.
Yeah.
But I think typically one person takes on more of
Hurt.
the hurt, the sorrow coming out. And maybe that explains the aftermath.
Yeah. I like that theory a lot. And again, not to kind of tease people, but the after story here of what happened after this is so huge and wacky and crazy. I would absolutely say that Davis is the person who got all the hurt and the sorrow and whatever that was. Yeah. You've gotten a lot of props here. So there's been a really active chat, a really active conversation in the chat. So Joe and Lisa Joy and Mason and Kat and a bunch of folks have been talking about their kind of failed relationships. Mason says that she had a 7-year little R relationship and still has sex dreams about them. Kat and Joe and Lisa Joy all had some pretty terrible, horrifying experiences.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I think the vibe of this really resonates with a lot of people about like looking for, that idea of like looking for the capital R relationship and then ending up in a little R relationship and maybe settling for it for a period of time.
Mhm. Yeah, like, we talked about this once, Lawrence, and we haven't really fully said this on air before, where I think you were like, all straight women, especially of a certain age, have a bit of an anxious attachment style because dating straight men is horrible
Right.
for the most part.
Right.
And
Straight men complain about anxious attachment style. And it's like, because women have been trained by men in society to be anxious about their attachment to people. Like men, you are teaching women to have this behavior because
Yeah.
you're all fucking assholes. I mean, says the gay dude, I'm a man who dates men. We are all assholes, speaking from personal experience, having been an asshole and dating them at the same time.
Yes, and I think, uh, it the allure of a little our relationship is twofold. One of, like, I can stop, I can pause, and also, maybe it's easier not to feel as deeply. That's the question I'm struggling with of, um, it is destabilizing to feel more and to be, ugh. So having that quieted, um, is good in a way. I don't know if that sounds awful, like your human Wellbutrin or something, but the effect was very similar that when I took Wellbutrin, I felt like me, but I was like me with my edges just smooth. I was like, "That's good, that's fine." And I that was how this relationship felt. I didn't worry about much anything, and it felt really good. I wanna reread this part because I think that this was the crux of it. Our relationship was a paradox and a trinity. The paradox lay in how much I enjoyed what we had day to day, contrasted with the trust gaps from the big lie moments. That was a really big paradox. But that paradox held because of the third part of the trinity of all of this, an underlying, like, indifference that made me just able to live in the moment and enjoy it. It was this cycle of 3, joy, distrust, shrug, that kept me from leaving each time. I'm a sucker for the joy. The shrug kept the distrust at bay. And then for 6 years, I just cycled through that, and I really didn't know. There was part of me that was like, "Wow, are my kids gonna kinda grow up and out of the house, and eventually I'll retire, and we'll just keeping on living alone together?" And, uh, there was a part of me who thought like, "Yeah, maybe that is what my life will be." Um, and until, like, my body just kinda let me know of like, "Nope, this is not the way things are gonna go." And uh, yeah, I started this with saying, like, "Is that all we get by late middle age? Is there?" I have another story I'm working on. I just referenced that expression, "living alone together." This is a cultural phenomenon of being in a lat relationship. I think the New York Times did a story about it, and it's typically a boomer thing, like folks who are older than us, where they're in committed life, like, relationships, but they don't ever wanna live together or merge anything because they're too late in life. So they live alone together and they travel together, and it's a very committed sort of a relationship style, but an acknowledgement of, like, mine is mine, yours is yours, and we meet up and we have fun and then we part. Um, but Gen X is still a bit younger, and so and also we don't have the financial stability that the boomers before us have,
Right.
and, um, I hope that I'm not spending my later years alone or living alone together. I'm hoping to spend it in a relationship because I think life is more fun with those pillars filled full of joy, and also it's sustaining and maybe makes things like retirement and travel more possible, but I don't know, and so,
We're at the
I
top
thought
of the hour,
yeah,
so wrap it up. What is the big thought takeaway that you want people to walk away from this article with?
that's a great question, and maybe it's that it is a paradox, and, um, I don't necessarily have an answer because I still, like I said, I don't know. If the distrust hadn't been there, would it continue? Maybe. I think little R relationships can be healthy, healing, good, and perhaps sometimes the sustaining thing for the long run, only you know what it is that you need, um, to fill that pillar in your life. And so I knew ultimately that this was not it for me and left or was left.
Yeah.
Didn't even have the courage at the time to be the one to fully end it. But I wish everyone a sense of peace with whomever they love and are with.
Yeah, and
Big
Lisa Joy
R,
says
little r.
maybe it is that there's no shame in small R's.
No, none at all.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my big takeaway, Lawrence. I don't think I have one beyond that. And I was about to crack a joke that I don't think I should say.
Do it. Do it.
Mm, but hopefully yours won't end with a restraining order, as mine did.
Yes, indeed.
So
Okay, and on that note,
little hat tip to what came. Phew, thank you. This was hard. I feel a little like I started this hour, as I think a lot of you saw, feeling a bit off. Thank you for making it easier to talk through, Lawrence, and for all of your kind comments. If you have a story that you want to share in the comments here, please add it into the story. I will definitely write back. What does that say? I got the
motherfucker 5115,
oh,
which I don't remember what that means anymore, but
I think it might be
restraining order or
I know it's an album from Van Halen.
right.
It's
Seriously,
obviously
that's the
not what I
only
would.
place my brain went.
I
I was
know,
like,
same.
it's a Van Halen album.
It's held in the hospital involuntarily. It's
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
committed. Yeah.
Committed.
Oh,
Yep.
geez, I'm sorry. That's I'm
Wow.
sorry. Okay.
Everyone says thank you. Beth says
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing, Dana. Sherry says you're amazing. Thank you, Dana.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah.
You know what, Lawrence? The big takeaway might be for me that's a really hard one as we're saying this, because hearing that is, and what I just said is like, it does leave you with the sense of like, how well and how hard is it to feel like we really know someone?
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And
okay.
maybe that writing about it and trying to find some perspective and healing on it is
Yeah.
especially and even in a public setting like this is actually kind of good for all of us because this is a story that everybody can relate to in some way.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope it was helpful and healing and interesting. And I wish all of you a great day, Lawrence. Love you, mean it.
Love you, mean it.
Love
Thanks,
you, mean all of
everybody.
you.
We
Bye.
love you. Talk to you soon. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.